Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli wa sallallahu alaihi wasallam Muhammad walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, brothers and sisters in Islam, we will continue again with the book of Journey to Allah. This is the fourth the type of action that will be as a scattered dust if we didn't follow exactly. So the fourth part here is said by Sufyan al-Suri, rahimahullah, would say upon hearing this verse, referring to the earlier verse, woe to the people of ostentation. If you have the sickness of ostentation, this can be seen in the hadith about the three who would be the first to be hurled into the fire: the scholars, the one who give charity, and the mujahid. Can you imagine? These are the three people that will be called up first, to be questioned by Allah Ta'ala, as mentioned here, and has the footnote explained. This is in the hadith of Muslim also, and on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, with the word, the first man whose case will be decided on the day of judgment will be a man who died in martyr, has a martyr, that those who fight, So all this is go back again to the understanding of innama a'malu binniyat, the intention that counts. So that's why it's very important that we have to make sure, before we do anything, be careful of our intention, right? He shall be brought, according to the hadith of narrated the authority of Abu Hurairah, he shall be brought forth and Allah will recount his blessing which he had bestowed upon him, and he will acknowledge them. Then Allah will ask, what did you do with them? And then he will reply, I fought for your sake until I die as a martyr. Then Allah will say, you lied. You fought so that you might be called a brave warrior, and you were called so, meaning that you already get that name of being a warrior, you fight. So you see, these are the things we have to take note, it's not that difficult, but we have to keep on doing the muhasabah, keep on asking ourselves, and in fact, the scholars mention that you can sometimes even renew the intention. If you have done it with ostentation, right? You renew that again and redo whatever that you have done. In order to escape this hadith so scary, then a command will be given and he will be dragged on his face and cast into hell. Waliya'uzubillah. And a man who acquire knowledge, this is about Quranic reading normally, and taught it and recite the Quran, he will be brought forth and Allah will recount his blessing and he will acknowledge them. Then Allah will ask, what did you do with them? Then this individual reply, I acquired knowledge and disseminated it and recited the Quran for your sake. You see? Can you imagine it? I acquire knowledge. So that means that even for students, who attending classes, if the intention is not right, scary, and then you disseminated whatever that you have learned. At the same time, you recited the Quran. You think they are doing it for Allah, but Allah know that you lie. So here the dialogue is being recorded and shared to us by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You acquire knowledge so that you might be called as scholars. This is what happened. And from this hadith again, it becomes a lesson to every one of us to make sure that we study from a person who may not be affected by this ostentation characteristics, And the same goes if you recited the Quran so that it might be said you are a qari. And it was said, Allah said. It's already, I mean, many of them, they are known as Qarid. Then a command will be given, he will be dragged on his face and cast into hell. And a man whom Allah has made abundantly rich and granted every kind of wealth, he will be brought also, and then Allah will count his blessing and he will acknowledge them. Then Allah will ask, what did you do with that wealth that Allah gave? And he say, I spend money in every cause in which you wish that it should be spent for your sake. Allah said again, your life. So this is where I have reminded you again, when you have a lot of money, you really want to help, you really want to give something to someone, don't make an announcement. Okay? In this modern world, even let's say if you give the money, it doesn't go to the person that you wanted to, you will still be rewarded. Because what is important is the intention, that you're doing it for Allah. You're doing it for Allah, none other than that. So that it will not happen as what is been mentioned here. Generally, you will find that people will say, right, when they contribute, right, I spend money in every cause, but then if you spend money in every cause to hope for Allah Ta'ala's mercy, you shouldn't be making the announcement. Then you will not be affected by ostentation. This ostentation is not that the party that you give knew, but Allah knew whether you're doing it with ostentation or not. Otherwise, then it will be the same as what is been mentioned. You lie, Allah said, you did so that it might be said you are a very generous person, and it's already been said. In the world normally, right, when you do something, you will get the reward. People will talk about your generosity and this and that. And that's why that is best not to make known, so that nobody know that you are contributing, you are giving. It's between you and that person is enough. Don't need to don't need to make an announcement. Then again, a command will be given, and he will be dragged on his face and cast into the fire. Likewise, you will find that it's a waste of all the good things that we do, isn't it? So that's why we need an hadith to get the clarification, to ensure that we do accordingly, according to what Allah wants, not according to what we want or what we think. The fifth is again the one who has worked righteous deed. This is the same also, and this is again why I keep on reminding, when you want to be doing something good, be it in the mosque or even in your house. If it is in your house, I don't think so. It can develop. It can also develop ostentation, right, without you realizing it. Example, you've been praying, and then people are enjoying watching movie, watching TV, watching football, or whatever. Then you get very upset. What are all these people doing outside where you are trying to do something that is righteous? So this is why sometimes some of this act. Again, I like to remind you. Remember the ibadat asas. Anything to do with the foundation is just between you and Allah. That's why we have to learn fiqh, because in fiqh is where you learn that even the sunnah prayer, as I share with you, not every sunnah prayer can be done in congregation. It's advisable not to, because it will develop these other things, character in us, feeling the pride in us, you're the only one that, same also like, you want to be doing fasting for Monday and Thursday, I mean, if possible, there's no need to make an announcement. Even you can lie, or you can break your fast, if you don't want people to be knowing that you're doing. Because remember that whatever that you're doing, it is not for anyone, right? So what is there of you? Why you must make known to others? Like you're fasting Monday and Thursday, in case if somebody knew and you do not want to be making an announcement that, okay, this has been what I've been doing, to maintain my figure and this and that, so I never miss my Monday, Thursday, then that's where the ostentation comes. Can you understand? So as mentioned here, all of his deeds are apportionate amongst those who he wronged. Then some wrongs still remain to be requited, and so their evil deeds are piled onto his, and as a result, he is hurled into hellfire. Can you imagine? You are doing the righteous thing, you're doing the righteous deed, but then because of you also wrong others. Wrong others is what I just give you an example just now. Is like you speak, you are very proud of what you did. You make an announcement. You don't know, you're not like me, lah. I can be doing the fasting even outside Ramadan. It's not an issue for me. Why? Why are we making an announcement? It's got nothing to do with other people. This is under the foundation, the ibadat asas. I keep on repeating, reminding you, right? Ibadat asas got nothing to do with human being. Okay, it's between you and Allah. Right? That is the Rukun Islam and the Rukun Iman. So that's why here it is being said, you work the righteous deed, you are doing the righteous deed. But because you also wrong others, so this wrong others is referring to, like I said just now, you may not know that it happened to me also, I just kept quiet, I like sometimes, you want to be sharing or whatever, it's okay. But then you must make sure that not to went up to the extent of you have wronged others, meaning you make others think that, oh, you think you're so knowledgeable, but then you didn't realize that what you're doing, because you think that your deed will save you. So there, confront him that which he was not expecting. So this is what happened to us on the day of judgment. So this is why I keep on repeating, for us to go back again to the basic. To go back again, these are the things that we need to be checking, right? We have to create our own checklist to make sure that when we do any act of worship, that we do not do any wrong to others, right? So what happened here, all of his deeds are a portion among those who he wronged. Because of you are making that announcement, now the reward of the good deeds that you do will be given to the person that felt that he is insulted. He felt that you have wronged him, and then his bad deeds, the person that you have wronged, right, will be given to you. And that's what here it says, that the evil deeds are piled onto you, and as a result, you are hurled into the fire. Okay? And the sixth is, again, his account could be scrutinized, at which it will be asked of him to show how he was grateful for the blessing granted him. So the least blessing would be balanced against his deeds and outweigh them with the remaining blessing yet to be weighed. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said, whosever account is scrutinized will be punished or will be destroyed. Can you understand that? The seventh will be, he could have even evil deeds that destroy some of his deeds or the deeds of his limbs. Again, save Tawheed, as a result of which he will enter the fire. Al-Imam Ibn Majah record the hadith on the authority of Thawban radiallahu anhum, that the Prophet ﷺ said, there are people among my nation who will come with deeds like mountain. Can you imagine? This is what I think a lot of people get mistaken, they do a lot of deeds like mountain, and Allah will render them as scattered dust. Na'uzubillah, summa na'uzubillah. You see? And this hadith goes on to mention there are people who have your skin, they speak your language, they spend part of the night in prayer as you do, but there are people who, when they are alone, violate the prohibitions of Allah. Na'uzubillah, summa na'uzubillah. And according to Busairi, because this hadith is from Ibn Majah, the isnad of his sahih is a sound, and it was declared sahih by Al-Imam Albani. Albani is the contemporary scholar of hadith. He does a lot of the screening of the hadith. Then again, the type of action that will be as scattered dust, said by Yaqub ibn Shaybah and Ibn Abi ad-Dunya, record on the authority of Salim, that is the free slave of Abu Hurairah radiallahu, that the Prophet ﷺ said, a group of people will be brought on the day of judgment with deeds like Mount Tihama. Can you imagine it? Mount Tihama. And Allah will render their deeds to dust. So this is scary, to think of this. So I hope that what has been exposed to us in this book will really help us a lot. Remember, I've been repeating, it's best to be doing. The hadith is already been read to you, and please be focused of, if it is in hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be focused on what is being said, because otherwise you will end up as what is being mentioned in this number 7, where the people, a group of people will be brought on the day of judgment with the deeds like Mount Tihama, and Allah will render their deeds to dust, and they will be thrown face first in the fire. Salim said, I fear that I am one of them. Imagine, during that time they already admitted they are one of them. Then one of the people in that group said that they would fast, pray. These are again, like I've been repeating, right? Remember that I said the Rukun Iman, Rukun Islam, most of us done this. As what is being mentioned here. Fast is in Rukun Islam. Pray is in Rukun Islam. Right. Then apportion some of the night for worship, again in secret. When an opportunity to do something forbidden presented itself, they would take it, and as such, Allah will invalidate their deeds. Can you imagine? So this is the scariest part. You can be doing good deeds, right? Has high as Mount Tihama, but then when you are alone, then there are prohibited things that Allah prohibited. You break it, without knowing that Allah is still the one that sees all these things, that know all these things, and then yet you transgress. So this is what will happen. A person could have his deed annulled because of showing off or arrogance, and like yet not even be aware of it. Scary, yeah? What do you think? Anything you want to discuss before I continue? Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. Go ahead, Ustaz, continue.
Now, 7.2, sadness in the world and then misery in the hereafter. This is even quite common. Many of us are very sad sometimes in the world, but the worst part, the worst scenario is we become misery in the hereafter. Degam, the devout worship, said, if the hereafter of the believer does not bring happiness, then 2 matters have gathered for him. That is sadness in this world and misery in the hereafter. So this is what, again, I've been repeating and asking you to check. We should be very happy in this world. Remember, Rabbana atina fid dunya. But it's not that totally you have to be worrying about all these things. We went through that again in the Ihya or in Minhajul Abidin, I've forgotten, where there's a specifically mention of these things, about, to understand the purpose of why we live. I remember that somebody questioned me that, that come out from, you can hear that this person doesn't have much understanding of what is happening actually. You know, I mean, it's quite common, right? If you had many Muslims who would be thinking that, you know, I mean, they may not say it, but the way they put it, you can feel like they are accusing Allah as being unfair. You agree with me? Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Yes, Ustaz.
You agree?
Yes.
You know, an example of this would be like, this is why again on Thursday, just now I was discussing with my boss. We will close the Thursday class. We will go into more in-depth explanation about Qadar Allah, Qadar and Qadar. This is where people doesn't understand. But briefly, brothers and sisters in Islam, I just want to remind myself and at the same time remind you, you must go back again to the script, to the Quran and Hadith. Okay, whatever, before you go any further in saying things that is not right, because I again have share and, you know, remind myself, all of us, including me, right? You cannot deny to say that we are the one that wrote a letter to Allah Ta'ala for us to be born in this world. Anybody? No, right?
No.
Right? So that's why if you knew and I knew that we didn't request, we didn't ask for us to be born, yet we are born, right? The moment we are born, if you have children, for those who doesn't have yet, you have to be patient. You can see clearly that the child is a blank file, or rather, if you put it in technical terms, it's like you have a diskette and that diskette is blank, not formatted. Agree?
Yep.
So what happened here, after you grow up, after you have learned, after Allah had been providing you with so many things, why think that Allah is not being fair to you? That you live a very short life, you know, and yet you will be punished severely in the hereafter. Why? Why say that? You live short is even better, isn't it? So you don't have a chance of making a lot of mischievous thing. You don't have a chance to be transgressing. The longer you live, the more you're prone to be doing all these things that is prohibited. You can't control yourself, you know. Am I not right? So that is
Yes,
why,
agree.
if you have realized at this age, some of you are still maybe early 20s, you know, or early 30s, some early 40s, right? Meaning like only now then you realize, Alhamdulillah, at least you are still within the hadith where the Prophet mentioned, Ikhtanim hamsan gabla khamsin, hayatuka gabla mautuka. You are still living before death is coming to you. Which means to say, if you have realized that you didn't follow Quran and Sunnah in, you know, adapting what is being taught, you know, fully, but now then you realize it's still not too late to try and make a change. You know, to avoid as what we are going through in this chapter, sadness in the world, and will be misery in the hereafter. So it's good to be sad. I'm not saying that you're going to be sad until you die, no. But it's, Allah Ta'ala knows, you know, it's human nature. And again, we didn't want to go to the script, so that's why we will be having this issue as from time to time. If we go into the script, this which is the Quran and the Sunnah, we already knew we are made of physical and spiritual. Jasmani and Rohani. So, and again, I've been reminding also, we always fail to look into what to feed the soul. Soul is not being fed. Our soul are not being fed. So here we are reminded, if the hereafter of the believer does not bring happiness, then two matters have gathered for him. Meaning that if you've been doing right and you know that, again, I have mentioned to you, if you have done the right thing and what Allah wants, what Allah and His Prophet have shown you, you have did your best, then you should be happy. Because sadness in this world and misery in the hereafter, it was asked about this matter. How can a person who is striving hard in the abode of this world not face happiness in the hereafter? Impossible, isn't it? Hello? What is your answer to that? How can a person who is striving hard, right, in this abode of this world, not face happiness in the hereafter? Impossible. Unless if you have done a lot of mischief and you didn't do the act of worship accordingly, yes, you can be in this kind of situation as what is being mentioned. So the dialogue here mentioned, he replied, what of acceptance? What of safety? How many are the people who think they have worked righteous deed, yet on the day of judgment, they are gathered together and thrown in his face. This is what people worried in the earlier generation. They understand. Now, my answer to that, if you have done, whether I've been asking that question also. Why is it I've been teaching for the last 20 years? I hardly hear people asking me, how do I know, whether what I did is being accepted or not? But what I normally hear is the question like, what I did, is it valid or not? See the difference? You didn't bother to even know whether what you did, the act of worship that you did, right, particularly the Rukun Islam, whether it's been accepted or not. I mean, of course, this is not anybody who can answer this question, it's Allah. The Quran speaks about this. The Quran speaks. And that's why we are being told in crystal clear, the Quran teach us, Rabbana taqabbal dua, accept our dua, even the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Rabbi ja'alni muqima salah wa min dhurriyyati Rabbana taqabbal dua. See, as a prophet, he asked Allah, see, he knew. But we are not a prophet, and yet nobody wants to be asking that dua, to ask Allah Ta'ala, make us stay fast in what we are doing. Right? So that is about, we should be asking ourselves whether it's accepted or not of our deeds. Otherwise, then we definitely will become very sad in this world, and it will be worse in the hereafter. About the safety also will be worse. How many are the people who think they have worked righteous deed, but yet on the day of judgment, they are gathered together and thrown in his face? Now, it is because of this that Amr ibn Abdul Qais and others would be greatly apprehensive of this verse mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 27, where Allah SWT says, Innamal yattaqabbalullahu minal muttaqin. See, this is how you know the deeds that you did is being accepted or not. You have to reach the level of muttaqin. Right? And Ibn Awan said, do not feel secure because of the great number of deeds, for you do not know if they have been accepted or not. Human cannot answer to that, but the Quran speaks about that. Do not feel secure about your sin. Again, for you do not know if they have been expiated or not. Now, all these, the Quran answers. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned about how do you know whether the sin that you have committed. That is why the Prophet shared with us about this guy who have killed 99 lives. Remember? And again, I have been reminding you to remember about Raja and Khawf. Raja and Khawf. Raja is hope. Khawf is about fear. Fear of what is being said here. Now this is because all of your deeds are unseen to you and you have no idea what Allah will do with them. Now the other thing, brothers and sisters in Islam, please, if you don't believe what I said, you can go into all the 5 pillars of Islam, and if you go into fiqh, all act of worship, one of the requirements for the validity of whatever that you do, be the physical of what you did, right? Plus the soul of what you did, is based on the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ state very clearly to make us known, innama a'malu binniyat, you know. Okay, you see? Innama a'malu binniyat. All action is justified or determined through the intention. So you got to ask yourself, did you do it solely lillahi ta'ala? Or to say that is easy. My grandson also can repeat after. But did you really mean, did you really understand when you say lillahi ta'ala? What does it mean? So Anahi wept at the time of his death, saying, I await the messenger of my Lord. I have no idea if he will give me glad tidings of paradise or hell. Another also felt anxious at the time of death, and it was asked of him, why so anxious? He replied, this is the time in which, alamak, huh? Another also felt anxious at the time of death, and it was asked of him, why so anxious? Then he replied, this is the time in which I have no idea where I will be led. Where will I be led? And one of the companions, radiallahu anhum, was overcome with anxiety at the time of his death, and he was asked after his state, to which he replied, Allah took his creation in 2 handsful, a handful for paradise and a handful for hell. I have no idea to which handful I belong. How? Any question? Hello? Are you with me? Anybody, are you with me?
Yes,
Yes, Ustaz.
Ustaz, we're here.
Go ahead.
So no question,
Ustaz,
eh?
I want to ask something, Ustaz.
Please, please,
Like
please.
just now you asked the question about which I'm also wondering. Like sometimes when we do things like what you mentioned is true. You do not know whether Allah has accepted what we do or not. Like even if you think you are sincere, also sometimes you are doubting whether are you really sincere or not. Then sometimes after you have done something, then after that you reflect back, and then after when you reflect back, you're thinking that whether, yeah, correct, whether is it true or is it out of like people give you give, those kind of mentality. So there's a lot of doubt lah. So I was wondering whether how do we avoid this kind of doubt in terms of like when we want to do something.
Like I said just now, that sometimes even the intention, you can reinstate the intention. If you felt that the first time when you do the ibadah, right, you are, still not too sure whether you're really sincere doing for Allah, or just want to show off, or just for the sake of wanting to be doing. So you can reinstate back the intention and redo back whatever that you do where the intention is not right. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Ustaz. I think, yeah. So it means that every time when we do something, then when we feel that like maybe we have doubt over it, then maybe we reinstate our intention, is it?
Yes. It can be anything, isn't it? Even in the prayer, right? As
Correct.
you know, it's just that sometimes we refuse. We are too arrogant, brother.
Mm.
Brother Adam. We are too arrogant. We refuse to be acknowledging actually.
Mm.
We are forcing ourselves to the prayer mat, especially for the Fajr prayer, isn't it? Right? We are forcing ourselves. And then we refuse to be admitting. Actually, what we should be doing is we should redo it again, you know, and state our salam. I mean, state our intention, you know, sincerely for Allah Ta'ala. If we don't want to be doing that, then there will be a problem. I mean, if you want to wait for the day of judgment, it's too late. You know, that's why in just repentance, right? The Quran says what? Tubu ilallah tawbatan nasuha. Meaning like, if you really want to repent, you see the word that is used, nasuha means sincerely. Sincerely.
Come on, bro.
Huh? What? Somebody say something? Does that answer your question, brother? No?
Yes, I think that is true. I think we have to how do we say like every time when we do something, right, then we will always have this whispering to say
Yes.
whether whatever we are doing, are you genuine, are you sincere, or this and that. And then after that, when after that, and then you think about it, actually it's true. Actually you're sincere, but don't know, this was on coming to you and telling you that, hey, why are you doing this? Are you sincere? Something like that. So that's
Yes.
why sometimes it also create a kind of doubt in us, lah.
Yes, it is. That's why we have to learn about the nafs, the desire. Wallahi, I mean, I hope that you can find the book. Unfortunately, it's in Malay, right? And I was looking for someone who can assist to translate. I believe that it's something that all of us should try and make an effort to study about our nafs. Because the Quran made it very clear the cost of many things that we do. In fact, there's even a dialogue recorded in the Quran that that this nafs is the one that cannot be killed. We didn't look into this thing, isn't it? Hello?
Yes, it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't look into this thing. You know, we take it for granted that, nafs, no lah, I don't eat only, that's it lah. My nafs will become, no, that one is not so makan. That is about eating. But nafs is broader, you know, you need to understand. It will come in a different, and the scariest and the most things that we need to understand, nafs is part of us. It's not like shaitan. Shaitan, you can get rid of shaitan. But nafs, desire, is part of us. It's innate in us. So we have to deal with it, you know. This is very important. You know, that's why the Quran, I've been repeating this also. I repeated this many times, right? In Surah Al-A'raf, I reminded you, right? Allah mentioned very clear. Very clear, you know, walakat zara'na li jahannaman kathiran. Can you, oh, it's scary, wallahi, Allah. You have to read this verse, you know. Walakat zara'na li jahannaman kathiran minal jin wal ins. You see, Allah says, you know, I have filled the Jahannam, you know, the hell of Jahannam with many human being and genie. You know, whereby lahum kulubun la yafqahun, they have heart. I mean, you can find the translation in English, Surah Al-A'raf, verse 179. See, don't say that we are not warned. It's about heart, our heart. Don't like rush and, wanting to be doing this, doing that, like example would be like many of these acts of worship that we did, is actually following the crowd without we realizing it, isn't it? An example would be like people will be asking, hey, did you completed your Shawwal fasting? The 6 days in Shawwal. Did you see, this is what I meant by you are not doing it for Allah. We are supposedly to have the knowledge to know that these are the things that is understood that you have. I mean, if you want to be doing it, do. Don't just follow because, oh, I saw that Balk is doing, I saw that Sharifa Aziana doing, Asha doing, Daniel doing, Huma doing, I also want to do. I also want to fast 6 Shawwal. Isn't that true? So this is what they are sharing with us in this book, The Journey to Allah. And it's not something that is so difficult. Like I said just now, if the intention of what we did was not being stayed lillahi ta'ala, solely for Allah, then reinstate back again and redo back again whatever that is being said. Right. At the heart for them and man, the Jahannam, right? Min al-jin wal-ins, right? And for them, with them, they understand, but not with them, they see, and so on and so forth. That is the Quran translation of that chapter, Surah Al-A'raf. No, brothers and sisters in Islam, please sit down after this, tafakkur, ponder upon all the deeds that we have been doing. If it is not for Allah, then reinstate back your intention and redo what you did not did accordingly. Simple as that. Before it's too late. Allah is going to do the muhasabah. It's already been mentioned, clearly that we need to be careful. We need to take it very seriously, and Islam is not that it demands that you have to be doing too many acts of worship. No. But Islam remind you that if you want to be doing it, do it sincerely. Remember the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah loves someone that does a little deeds, but he is consistent in his doing. He's steadfast in his doing. Allah loves that. Then rather than has what mentioned earlier, the deeds, the righteous deed that they did as high as Mount, has what is been said earlier. But then it's without, like I said just now, you didn't realize that you're doing something, but you have wronged others, You're doing something, you're contributing, you're giving, but then you wrong others. It can be someone may feel insulted of what you did. So this is why you got to be very careful. Let's move on to this 7.3 is even more scary. I hope that answers your question, Brother Adam. So here it says, whoever ponders this as it deserves will find himself in a state of apprehension, for the son of Adam alayhi salam will face great terrors during his life, such as death, the grave, and the barzakh. You have to ponder over this thing, whether you like it or not, right? Because we all will go through these terrors. While we are still alive, we better ponder upon these things. What will happen to us? The people that have long gone, the one that we love, we even don't want to be pondering what happened to them in the grave. Where are they and what and this and that. We are asked to ponder upon all these things, remember? Of course, that doesn't mean that then tomorrow doesn't want to go to work, weeping, crying, over worrying that what will happen to you if you die. And death is without notice, okay? Qiyamah also will not, there's no notice given, it will come. So we don't have to be worrying when it comes, what year, but what we should be worrying is, did you make preparation or not? Like the grave here, right? What is there of you to worry about death? But did you make preparation? What light did you want to fix in the grave? What food are you going to eat? Who is going to keep you company? So this is what you have to ponder upon, the standing, the bridge. And I think this one, in one of the American movie that I can share with you, that got what spike on his head. What is that movie? Anybody? Or otherwise, you can go to Upper Villa. You can see the torture chamber there. It's as if that they may have come across the hadith of what is being described there in the torture chamber, about the bridge, about the balance. The greatest of all is when we are standing before Allah, mighty and magnificent, and the fire. He will fear losing his faith at the last minute. This is why we recited Ya Allahu biha, Ya Allahu biha, Ya Allahu bi husnil khatimah. Because we do not know the end. Okay? We do not know our end. Whether that last minute we have been condemned for the eternity in the fire, and the true believer will never feel secure from all this matter. As again Allah mentioned here in the Quran, in Surah Al-Araf, the same chapter, verse 99. فَلَا يَأْمَنُوا مَكْرَ اللَّهِ إِلَى الْقَوْمِ الْخَاسِرُونَ. None deem himself secure from Allah's scheme, save folk that perish. Now, all of these matters should prevent the son of Adam from resting and relaxing. We are supposed to be tired. If you understand this, then you can rest assured that you will enjoy, isn't it? If you are not tired, you want to be relaxing now, then you will not be relaxing later when you die. So, again, I have reminded you the importance of Rukun Iman. Remember? Because that speaks about heaven and hell, the description and so on and so forth. Then from there, after you believe in that, then you will not be resting and relaxing. You put on all the best effort. And this best effort, again, have to be done sincerely. Make sure that you do it with calmness, with understanding, with concentration, and this and that. All this already mentioned in the book of Ihya Ulumuddin by Imam Ghazali rahimahullah alayhi. So all of these matters should prevent us from resting and relaxing. Okay, it is true, the world is not meant for us to relax. It's not meant for us, meaning it's not ours. We will be given another life, and that's the real one. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. Remember? Okay? Can you remember that verse? So a person was seen in a dream saying, how can the eyes sleep in peace and serenity? Of course, this one cannot be taken literally again. You need to understand. You have to have the knowledge what is being said here. Okay, it's not just one thing, isn't it? Are you with me? Hello?
Yes, Ustaz.
So that's why you need to remember. You see, the the person that dream, he speaks in this manner. How can the eye sleep? If you were to think of it now. So this is like, it's something that comes purely from yourself. You don't feel like really you want to sleep like in the best resting manner. You don't want to. You are sleeping because sleep is just to relax your body. That's all. You don't actually want to sleep, but some enjoy sleeping, isn't it? Feeling like, oh no, I must sleep. So, okay, lah, go ahead, lah, sleep lah. Who wants to stop you? Why? As he mentioned here, how can the eye sleep in peace and serenity, yet in which of the two abodes will it dwell? There is no guarantee. This is how we should be thinking. If we are wise, we should be thinking like what is being said here. So one of those on his deathbed, a devout worshipper, was asked about this state, to which he said, none who enter the grave knows what lies awaiting. Isn't it? Anybody can tell me what is waiting for you down there? Hello? Right? None who enters the grave knows what lies awaiting. Nobody knows. I mean, you've been going to the grave to bury friends, relatives, and so on and so forth. You don't know what is waiting for him below. Save Allah, the one who to the grave is leading. So in this respect, one of them said, by Allah, were meant to know what he was created. That one I already answer you, or I already share with you. If you knew why you were created, he would not be remiss, nor would he sleep. You have to understand all these words, and that's why this class is created, is meant for, it's a sharing session, isn't it? I'm not smart, I don't know anything also. Right. So it's best for you to be talking, asking, so that you will, you will find that you had a peace of mind. Really, wallahi, I'm telling you, a peace of mind. Okay? Hence what is being said here. By Allah, were a man to know for what he was created, you don't have time to relax. No time for this and that. He would not be remiss, nor would he sleep. He was created for such a thing that be assured. Can you imagine? You were created for a thing that be assured. Were hearts to see it neither stray, would they nor sleep. Death, then to the grave, then to be resurrected. Rebuke, dire, and terror, appalling in this beweep. For the day of gathering have men exerted, praying and fasting in trepidation deep. But we, when prohibited or commanded, are like the people of the cave, awake yet asleep. All praises is due to Allah, Lord of the world. Peace and blessing be upon our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family and all his companions. That is the end of today's topic, and that is the end of what is being covered in this book. So this is the time for question and answers if there are. Please.
Assalamualaikum, Ustaz. Ustaz, can I clarify this sentence? Say that he was created for such a thing that be assured. It's talking about us that when Allah created us, everything is already certain for us. Does it mean that, or what does it mean?
Yes, as already ascertained, and the one assured here means like Allah have guaranteed it. If you do according to what He wants, right? You already been assured of the Jannah.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
You definitely will be getting, it cannot be that you're doing things freely. You don't get anything, no. So this is where, as I mentioned earlier, right, we didn't do our homework, in other words, you know, to go back to the basic, to find out what is the purpose of our creation. What are we doing here in this world? We didn't go to that, right? We normally will just go along with our life and continue, you know, doing what we are supposed to do, that kind of thing. But if we go back to the basic of what is being shared in many of the whatever is in the Quran and Hadith, you will find that you will know, you know, the basic of what is being required for us is to do the thing that we are supposed to do, lah, right? So that's the reason why that we need to understand some of the things, you know. Example about why Islam is consists of these three subjects, you know, Tawheed, Fiqh, and Tasawwuf. So Tasawwuf is where it goes into securing more of our, you know, what is going to happen to us in the hereafter. You know, because for instance, in Sharia, which consists of the divine commands and prohibition, in which the minimum level presented to all of mankind, the common people and the elite group, the following understanding is valid, which is your property is yours and mine is mine. However, the path of the seekers who aim for spiritual maturation becomes as follows. Your property is yours and mine is yours too, for the sake of Allah. Thus, the seekers gain the quality of self-sacrifice and generosity, and altruism becomes spiritual pleasure. So beyond this, in the third level of, this is defining about Shariat, Hakikat, and Ma'rifat. So this is in the level of Hakikat, the third level, which is to be attained by the chosen servant of Allah. The following is understood: and neither your property is yours, nor is my property is mine. This other thing, again, if you were to look into, right? Actually, we don't have anything, isn't it? We don't have anything. We don't own anything, right? But just human are being in denial, isn't it? You will fight over things that you think that is yours. Yeah, I mean, in this world, yes, maybe. But still, if you want to say, even in this world, like you know, like you are not going to bring your house with you. You're not going to bring your car with you. You are not going to bring your mobile phone with you. You're not going to bring your whatever fancy dress or, you know, expensive clothing that you wear with you. All these things you knew that you are not the what do you call it, the real owner of it. Right? Everything is given to you for temporary. And yet because of that, we fight and we start showing our Allahu Akbar, you know, showing off our you know what we have, isn't it? It becomes like, you know, we start comparing and say, your one is cheap, mine is more expensive. Na'uzubillah. This is what happened to many of us. So that's why you have to learn in Tasawwuf that you have these three levels. You have the Shari'at level, you have the Hakikat level, the Hakikiyah, and the Tariqat level. This is at the later I will share with you about these things. You know? So it's not being a Sufi that is even higher than that, right? So by doing this, if you have that thinking, right? If you remember just now what I said, this, if you are at the level of Hakikiyah, hakikat lah in Malay cakap, orang Melayu bilang hakikat kan, meaning the real of whatever things that we want to be argue about. This can be attained by the chosen servants, meaning that if you want to reach this level of hakikiyah, you are to understood that when we talk about whatever that we have in our possession now, right? Neither your property is yours actually. Whatever property that you have is not yours, isn't it? Because you're not going to bring it with you. Nor is my property also, it's not mine. Rather, it belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You agree with this or not?
Yes,
Yes,
agree.
Huh?
Yes.
yes, agree.
So you see, it's logical, you know, it's not something that we are just being, what you call it, we are just being in denial, isn't it? So many things in this world we deny, you know, we fight over things that even Allah Akbar is actually not ours. You know, so if you exercise this, then you will reach a state of the heart in which they are able to sacrifice even their own existence for Allah's sake. This is what the Khalaf Salih and Salaf Salih they do up to that extent. You read about them, I think you know, right? Most of them sacrifice almost everything for us. I'm talking about the material. Even if you read about Al-Malik, one of the king, Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, if you read about him, you read most of the Muslims rulers, you know, they sacrifice even their own existence in order to come closer to Allah. As Allah recorded this in Surah Al-Imran, verse 92, which means, by no means shall you attain righteousness unless you give freely of what you love. Can you imagine? Okay, I allow you if there's any other question for anyone else.
Ustaz, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Just now when you say Ustaz, apa ni, when you do something, it's not for free. You to attain Jannah. But the basic for sincerely means if you do something not expecting anything, or when you do something, how does it go, Ustaz? Because for me, when you do sincerely means you're not expecting anything in return.
By right, yes, but you know, as part of human nature, when they do something, they expect a reward. So that's why Allah mentioned about Jannah. It's part of the psychological thinking of human. You know, when they do something, they expect something.
But then,
So
when we solat, when we say Allah Ta'ala, for Allah Ta'ala sincerely, not expecting any, it should be not expecting anything, just sincerely for Him, or
this one I have covered already in Ihya and Minhajul Abidin, but to answer you, if, like I said just now, it's something that you have to strive. If you're at the Shariat level, right? When you're ibadah, but you're at the Shariat level, you definitely will be thinking of, you want a reward for whatever you do. Although, this has already been mentioned by the scholars, prayer is not meant for Allah, prayer is meant for us. Many of us also still doesn't know that. You see, what you want to be doing for Allah is, again, it's another level, right? So to answer you in short, Mr. Zulkarnain, is for you to always remember that, yeah, I mean, if you don't want to be expecting any reward from Allah, that is the best. That is the best. Okay, provided you will not be, you know, feeling that, Alamak, what is this, man? How come I do everything for free? Don't turn around, because remember that our heart, Zul, is always changing. And that's why we are asked to pray to Allah, Rabbana la tuzi' qulubana ba'da hidaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. There's also another zikr that is normally they said for you to read, Ya muqallibal qulub sabit qalbi ala dinik wa ala ta'atik. You know, we seek Allah Ta'ala protection so that we can be, you know, our heart. And again, for your information, we knew that iman, right, is fluctuate. It goes up and down. You agree with me or you disagree?
Definitely, Ustaz. I agree with you.
You don't agree, so never
No,
mind.
no, definitely agree. I happened to me lah. So I don't want. Of course, I agree.
How's your wife, Siti?
Alhamdulillah, she's doing quite well. Alhamdulillah, she's
She's
having her
still
own
the
business.
reserve actress, No.
No. She's not. She's doing
Wow.
hijama.
Masya Allah.
She have her own business. Alhamdulillah, she's doing quite well. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So, Alhamdulillah, welcome back to the class. We miss you actually.
Thank you, Ustaz. No, I'm trying, Ustaz, but that's the thing. Like what I said, I worry about my sincerity. The sincerity part, see.
You can renew, as I said just now. You will know, Zul. You will know. Example like when you do like I always mention to myself, sometimes when we wake up for the Fajr prayer, right? It's like we are dragging ourselves, isn't it? We are dragging our feet, our face. In fact, during my study, some of the scholars even suggested that why don't you put a camera when you are praying?
Tapi Ustaz, isn't it when initially when we want to bring ourselves back to the path towards Allah, we will force ourselves first. We will.
Yes.
Then from there we istiqamah.
Correct. Very true. So that's why the struggle is that there should be a struggle. Cannot be that you are just easily, as I mentioned just now. That's why, iman is something that is very, very precious. Many of us doesn't want to think about it, To many of us say that, no, money is more precious. And I mean, it differs from one to another, right? It differs from one to another person, how you define what is iman. We don't see that value of us being a Muslim. Many of us are still lost. Let me be honest with you. I will be appearing on Instagram, which I don't know how to go into that yet, but believe me, it's a very interesting what Mr. Bilal and the wife Nadia and Dane wants me to be addressing issue. Example will be like this will be in public, for public appearance, about Islam and versus culture. Can a Muslim use gemstone? Is it compulsory to listen to khutbah? Does it have to always be recited in local language? This kind of very challenging question that I will answer live, which is a good thing for many of us. Like I said, like we don't know Islam, Joel. We don't know Islam. We are born as Muslim. If you don't study, I tell you, you don't know. And how you know that you don't know? How do we know that we don't know Islam? Because you will find that others get irritated by you. You don't know how to get yourself closer and make it look like you can get along with anybody. So that's why it's good to study. It's good to be reading books like written by the Palestinian scholars, who was Ismail Farouki, who was assassinated in different contexts, Islamic worldview by Dr. What do you call it? There's a few of this kind of book. Dr. Jamal Badawi, as I mentioned, they explain to you the comprehensiveness of what is in the teaching of Islam. Because in our society, I know you has Zulkarnain, you definitely be a Muslim, cannot be Tamil,
Of course.
as an example lah, so that is the problem, but when you say that, you label because of the name and that person belongs. That's why in politics here in Singapore, you can hear that they call us as Malay Muslim. If you can understand why they have that kind of statement, it's because of that's what they saw. Some Malays are not practicing Islam. So it's very hard to call them Muslims politically.
But that's a general misconception. Race and religion are totally different, Ustaz.
I know, but we normally will base on, like in the context of our society, we normally base if your name is Dola, Ibrahim, Osman, you're definitely a Muslim.
That's a common conception of people, perception of people.
But to know you as Muslim, it will take another step. You have to have the knowledge to understand what is Islam. Once you understand what is Islam, then you are really very approachable, presentable. People can see value in you, right? Because you must understand, human can only justify, or rather human will base on what they saw, or rather what they see is what they say. They don't know what is inside, because Iman is inside you. Islam is outside. If you practice the Rukun Islam, then you are known as Muslim. But when the Rukun Iman is not known, it's not known yet. When you are tested only, then you will know whether your Iman is there or not. The test which I think you go through when you were still driving Grab car, a lot of hassle and bustle, I believe you went through.
I'm still driving private hire, but alhamdulillah now with all this it's easier for me to attend.
Yeah. So you see you see that's what I meant by, you see, when you talk about Iman, it doesn't come just like that. No, you have to go through certain striving, jihad, and that is in the Rukun Islam actually, the number 6.
You say, Jihad. Yes, you told. Yeah, I remember you told me that.
And if you don't strive, then the Iman will fluctuate, you know. Sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't. So to be constant in what we are doing is where we have to nurture our Iman. Nurture, and then we have to put, until the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, in one of his saying, he said, Jaddidu imanukum. Jaddidu imanukum bil kalima la ilaha illallah. Renew your Iman. Prophet says that. Renew your Iman. Every now and then start renewing it by saying La ilaha illallah. This is what the tariqah, after you have learned the hakikat, then you go to the tariqat. This is where they have certain things to nurture the Iman. So if you're good in the Quran, then of course Quran is the best. Afdal. I hope that.
Thank you, Ustaz. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
So any other question?
Yes, Ustaz. Assalamualaikum, Ustaz.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala.
Okay, in the list of the ones that you covered earlier, yang types of actions that will be scattered as dust, yeah. So in the course of working, and working is ibadah.
Yes.
So what if you work, okay, and your nama itu is, yes, ikhlas and because of Allah, but you have, when you are in sales, you have targets. So when you have to meet targets, you have to encourage customer spending. So in a way, you you try all sorts of sales techniques to persuade them to spend more. Is that considered like whatever you have done is all your good deeds in the course of going to work and all that is not valid anymore?
No. No, because as long as the product of whatever that you are trying to boost up your certain target that is given to you, it's not
Mm-hmm.
something that is prohibited. This is the first thing. First thing that
Okay.
you have to take note. Example, it is not something that intoxicant, because this is where it will make your deeds scattered.
Right.
Okay? Secondly, it's not something that is being stolen. I mean, when you work with a company, I'm sure that you will be briefed of the background of the product that you need to be selling it.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that we have to check. But okay, just to cut it short, generally in the context of our society, Asha,
Mm-hmm.
we are, I wouldn't use the word that we are excused, because we are talking about we are not in the Islamic state.
Right.
Now, always you have to remember this: when you're not in an Islamic state, in being able to apply Islamic law accordingly, it becomes a very, very major issue.
Okay.
That's why many of our, particularly our brothers who are in the food industries, right, food and beverage, many of them, you can't escape, right? You have to go for wine tasting and this and that, that kind of thing. Although I'm not saying that it's allowed,
Mm.
but I'm saying that you're put in a situation like it's kind of difficult, So the challenge will come there between Iman and your job,
Yes.
which one have to be given the precedent,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is where it boils back again to your Iman. But in the context of our society, like I said, most of this thing is being reviewed, and that's why we took the stand of being a moderate Muslim. If you
Okay.
understand the moderate Muslim, which I have defined, you can find that you have to be excellent in whatever that you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yes.
that cover what you were asking earlier. You have to be excellent
Yes.
in your job. You have to be. It's just that you need to find out, and some of these finding out thing, as I mentioned, it's almost difficult because many company will not be revealing to you where they get the stuff from. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in sales,
Mm.
which I don't think so, right? No, I think most of the product that is being sold, especially in our society, there's an involvement of other party where they check, to ensure there's no danger in the product that is being sold and this and that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that again will cover you from from doing the good deeds, that it will not be where you will not be rewarded.
Okay. So what if a company that we're working for is holding hold events, and in those events is a situation where we are required to serve alcohol?
Okay, in situation like that, you have to I mean, if it is part of your job, right,
Mm.
you cannot be enjoying whatever that you're doing.
Yeah.
This is the beauty of the religion, Asha.
Yeah.
The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made it very clear, and as I explained to you, this is in one of my Malay class that uses the book of Ustaz Ahmad Haris,
Mm-hmm.
that talks about adab.
Yeah.
You are very wrong to understand, and hadith is there where the Prophet mentioned man ra'in minkum munkaran, if you are being confronted. So your question is the same thing, right? You're confronted with things which is prohibited in the religion, right?
Correct.
Fa'ilam yastati' fabilisan. You try and explain that to your respected employer,
Mm-hmm.
and you be opt out for not doing this or not first, right?
Right.
If it doesn't work, the employer will tell you, you take it or you leave it. So you move on to the next step. Or the weakest, according to the hadith, is to hate whatever that you do in your heart.
Yeah.
Enough. So that includes if you have to be serving wine, you serve, but you hate what you are doing,
Okay.
right? If it goes on like for a long time, or in fact for your lifetime, then you have to pray to Allah and ask Allah to look for other job that doesn't require you to do that. This is the beauty of the religion. It's not that you have to read abruptly, immediately you knew and that's it, you resign, the whole thing collapse. And then you put the blame onto the religion, say, Sheila, that is not how the religion is. This is what happened to many of us.
Mm.
You know, we just take the law in our hand and say, okay, lah, since you doesn't allow me to put on my headgear, I resign. I mean, it's a wise thing that you did, but then you have to bear in mind that you are living in a modern society where the dollar and cent becomes, you know, something that you have to have, right?
Yes.
What will happen, you know, if every Muslim were to be thinking, yeah. So this goes without saying, again, for those who have been working with the Malaysian breweries. They are well paid, okay? You think they want to resign? So what they did was they hate whatever that they were asked to do. But then, like I said, and that's why we have to first look into the state law. We are not uh, what under the supervision of the Islamic law in the context of our society. Yeah. So that's why you are in a way been forgiven by Allah Ta'ala. So that includes like those who works in the hotel line, you know, like musician and some of these things, right? You can't be comparing. You know, sometimes even you can hear the compassion of Yusuf Islam, you know, Cat Steven, why he quit music, as an example. So sometimes you have that ability if your iman is strong and you are prepared to go through hardship, right? So resigning from being a professional musician like Cat Steven, by all means, do it, lah. But not everyone can, Asha.
Yeah.
Right? Not everyone can, and not everyone is ready and prepared for, you know, going through that kind of hardship. So these others will have to do like what I said just now. You have to hate what you do. Allah is the knower of everything. You know, and tackle it with patience, with pride, you know, that you know you're not enjoying whatever that you're doing, which is transgressing the law. But you are put in a situation, you know, you don't have much choices.
I mean,
And
I enjoy my work. Like the company, the events only happen like probably once every 3 to 4 months. So it's not in a regular occasion.
so it's fair enough. That's why you still do, but you hate. In your heart, you hate what you do.
Yeah, I dislike that part.
Yeah, it's okay. Then it's considered, that is the weakest of Iman based on that hadith of the Prophet mentioned. And because of this hadith also, people become terrorists, you know, because they literally understood the hadith. If you cannot change with advice, use your hand. So they understood the word use your hand means go and whack that guy, meaning violent.
Mm.
And that still happen in our society, you know, in the raising of children. Most parents will still cling on to this hadith. The Prophet says, you know, if you really advise your son, he doesn't listen, smack that child. No, 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 never. That has never supposedly to be. Because when you come across hadiths like this, you have to go into the personality or the characteristics of the Prophet in his lifetime. Did he ever uses violence on her?
Mm.
No, there's no evidence. Not even once, except during war. So you see, clearly show, you see how we, in our society, Muslims are still misunderstood the hadith where the Prophet says, if you cannot change with your mouth, you use your hand. So the hand there is referring to authority, not the individual. I have to, like people stop you from praying and you go and kill that person. Na'uzubillah. That has never been in the teaching. There are many other alternatives, that can be done. You have to study and broaden up your understanding. As I always mention, the general legislation in the Quran, right? When Allah prohibits something, definitely there is another door that He opened, which is why you have halal and haram. Haram is minimized actually if you count, if you want to be counting it, where the domain of halal is broadened. If you go by name, specifically or explicitly mentioned in the Quran, it's only a few. Among so many, we know khinzi, that's all. Right? And intoxicant. Other than that, the wider space about halal, Allahu Akbar, it's like you can't count most of the thing. According to Professor Yusuf Khazrawi, in one of the principles he mentioned, if there is no rule to whatever that you are doing and eating and that kind of thing, right? It goes back to the asal. Asal means the origin of the law, which is permissibility. And that is the base of Sharia. It normally will go back to permissibility. If there is no explicit command of over the food, over the things that you want to do, right? Then it go back to asal, the hukum asal. Hukum asal means permissibility. This is in the principle, 11 principle laid by Professor Yusuf Qardawi in his book, Lawful and Prohibited Things in Islam. You can refer to that. So sometimes when we ask about things to do with lawful and unlawful things, these are, we got to go back into the principle. Okay, and one of the other principles is, okay, an example will be like anything that create a leeway for you to be doing things that is forbidden in Islam, it becomes forbidden. So that goes into many things, that we didn't want to go and study to understand. Because the idea is to close the door for these other things that may lead into something that is forbidden. An example of this is about liquor. That's why liquor is been agreed upon most of the scholars. A sip of this liquor is considered as you have what do you call it? It's like you have taken the whole bottle of it, and that goes into you toss, tossing during some festive season, right? It is considered as you are promoting something that is prohibited. So it is not like for the individual, like you may say that sometimes you're invited by your non-Muslim friend to attend wedding, dinner, where normally the bride and the groom will move around from one table to another and start. They toss the yam sing or whatever sing lah. So that doesn't immediately, where it applies onto you and you becomes haram of what you did. No. Sometimes you got to be very careful. You cannot take the law like that. You need to understand in Islam, it has to come with, are you doing it? You are you transgress in a manner where you know the rules, and then yet you defy. When you're defying, then it's a different thing. But you are caught in a situation whereby you're not in a Muslim wedding, and there's a lot of non-Muslim there. Of course, that doesn't give you the right to be drinking, you know, but the bride and the groom came to your table and they asked you to take your Coke or Sprite or 7 Up that you hold with your hand and yeah, I'm saying together. That doesn't, I mean, that's not how the rule is being applied. In other words, you know, but many of us will take the law in our own hand. This is wrong. Wallahu a'lam. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Ustaz, thank you very
But,
much.
any other question? I take silence as for no. I don't know.
Sorry, one question.
Yes, please.
So on the topic of the talking about alcohol, apparently in in Malaysia there is a lot of debate and ruling going on. It's like, if let's say for example they have so-called Japanese some of the soy sauce they have a tiny content of alcohol inside due to not due to fermentation or whatever purpose. Or if it's fermentation, let's say it's fermentation, there are arguments saying that if it's less than 0.5%, 0.5%, it is permissible for us to consume. But however, based on what is indicated in the Quranic verse, is as long as it's a little bit, regardless of the amount, it's still haram. So I mean, what is the standing of this?
Okay. Okay. Regarding these things, it is very difficult to prove. You know the level of whatever is being used in this other food that you mentioned, right? If it is like it's not pure, it's not something that is again whether you can avoid it or not, you know. So these are the things that you have to put into consideration, you know, whether can you avoid it. If you can avoid it, is best. Is there an alternative in order to not to be applying what is known as subahat, you know. If you can do so, do so. But again, if it is you are not certain of the number of alcohol that is being used, and these are again something is which is considered doubtful in the religion. You know, you really don't have the full because this is about sometimes it's about politics. It's about business. I think this was mentioned many years ago to Al-Marhum Ustaz Asari in Malaysia that passed on, because most of his soya sauce he claimed that is made from him were actually according to what we know, it is taken from the Chinese too. You know? So it's something that is already been debated now. So coming back to your question, you know, if you can avoid it, you avoid it. That will be the best.
Okay,
before you start attacking and tell them that okay, there are certain number of but then some of this legal verdict, right, that is coming from different parts of the world, it cannot be taken by us, because sometimes some of the ruling that is being ruled by our neighboring countries, right, may not be applicable to us, right? If because it will create a lot of suspicious, you know, among the non-Muslim here, because we eat most of the food that is um, they are the provider, you know. I mean, then what will happen there? Uh, all of us will be in trouble, you know, to be looking for halal. So, from coming from that perspective, is where, you know, we try not to listen to. I mean, there are many rulings been made in our neighboring countries. You know, a few. I think last year there's a lot of this issue even about Cadbury chocolate, you know, about this, but some they raided and they caught. Well, others is like it's based on hearsay. You know, there's no proper evidence onto whatever is being said. So based on that, my advice will be you don't create any problem in the society unless if you are very sure you are the chef and you knew that you need this other ingredient which is prohibited in the religion. Because if you go broader, right, there are many things that is prohibited and yet it is being used for medical. One example will be for kidney dialysis. And they use opium, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you have to really see the situation. But if you want to be transgressing it, then it's not allowed in the religion. If you already knew the, you know, how is it been made and the percentage of the alcohol that is used. Because some even medicine, right, as you know again, also they use, there's a use of these drugs. Normally they will tell you it's drug. And you have to have a prescription from the doctor before you can get it. Especially the cough drops, you know, cough. Mostly it has certain percentage of alcohol, but what is being debated here, Mr. Daniel, is we are really not too sure the alcohol that they mentioned because from the fatwa that I get from the late Al-Alama Dr. Ali bin Abbas Al-Maliki, there was a big hoo-ha in our society about perfumes. Then he clarified in, I didn't do the paper cutting, he clarified in the newspaper the spirit, I mean, what is being used in most of the perfumes, right, are actually spirit. So spirit and alcohol is two different things. You drink spirit, you die. You drink alcohol, it doesn't kill you immediately, right? It's a slow process of death. So this is again something that is really very dangerous for us to be debating. Some of these things is best to leave it to the authority, which is of course in Singapore will be MUIS. They have to look into this matter, you know, whether it's halal or not. Sooner or later they definitely there will be a legal verdict saying that we shouldn't be buying product from whichever. Because I remember when I was actively working with the Mabuhay Club, they were sharing also, and I think this was brought to the attention of Abdul Rahman bin Zaid, who is the president of the Islamic Council in Philippines. Most of the canned product that comes from Philippines, it has khinzi inside. It has pork. That was what it is being said. So, but it is sold here in Singapore, and I don't know whether our people they read the can or not, you know, or they're just looking for the halal logo. Wallahu alam bisawab. The same also, I had students like, you know, some of our Japanese students, you know, most of their Maggie mee again also they have pork inside. So if it is clear like that, of course, you know, it's considered haram if by accident if you ate it, then of course you are forgiven. Allah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other question? We haven't decided on what is the next book, sir.
No, I'll let you know, inshallah. Let me go and do some research first.
Sure. If there's no other question, you will end up with the dua. I don't want to hold back because some of you already start working. Astaghfirullah al-azim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma inna a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa' wa min qalbin